Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm not sure how many of you watch any of my shorts that I put up, but I do put up shorts every once in a while about, some things that are, kind of currently happening in my garage. And well, if you watched my last short, um, you'll see that I put on there that I sold the 300 SD. And well, that's exactly what I done. I had a guy come up and was really interested in the car and liked a lot of the stuff that I'd done to it, and he wanted to buy it basically. So, um, on that note, the car is not leaving just quite yet. He was pretty impressed with some of the work that I've done to the car and all of that, and he wants me to continue doing work on it. So, one of the first things that I'm going to get done on here is we are going to be replacing all of the bushings, the ball joints, tie rods, and everything like that on the front suspension. Um, a lot of it was in pretty good shape. This lower ball joint over here was starting to pop a little bit, um, but other than that, it was all pretty well tight. But these parts are well, for the best of my knowledge, all of the parts that I haven't changed on here are original. So it's a 40-year-old car, and yeah, it probably just needs to be replaced just to make it 100%. So yeah, I'm basically kind of waiting on parts for right now, and I'll be getting in here and I'll get the car jacked up, and we'll basically just start kind of taking everything apart. And I'm hoping in this new year I can kind of cut out on a lot of the I know I've already said it a couple of times in this video, but I am going to seriously try working on that. But on that note, with the car sold, that kind of leaves me to being able to get into other projects like maybe my wagon or the old Saab, which is currently pushed outside. But yeah, for now, we're going to get in here and we're going to start getting this thing tore apart and get it ready to get some of those new parts put on it. So if you'll hang around with me on the video, I'd greatly appreciate it. And consider liking and subscribing if you feel that this video here was, informational for you. But thanks again to my new subscribers, and hope you guys enjoy the video. All right, now that I got the vehicle jacked up, um, I'm basically gonna get in here, and I'm gonna start from the outside. Um, First, I'm going to take off that brake caliper, remove the cover off of the wheel bearings, and just kind of start going towards the back and start removing basically everything. The spring's going to come out, the shock, the upper control arm I'm not going to replace on it because I literally just done it not too long ago. And basically, I'm just going to be undoing the spindle here. And I think the new owner is going to want to replace all of the bushings in that bearing bracket here at the back, and that bearing back there also. So basically, yeah, I'm just going to get started out here and just kind of start working my way back and get some of that taken out. All right, as you can see here, I've got the caliper off of it, the disc, and that's, well, except for that steering linkage right there that bolts up on the steering knuckle. I've basically, that's about all I've gotten taken off. But one thing that I do want to show you here while I'm at it, a lot of people I see struggling trying to get these bottom ball joints broke free. Well, from my experience and what I think could be what's going on with their problem is they're not going about it correctly. Um, you can see here that the ball joint, the joint itself is actually down here on the knuckle and not here on the arm. Well, if if you got if you got this spring here loaded up pushing down on this arm, you're basically forcing that bottom control arm down onto the ball joint. And I've seen people take and get in there with pickle forks and just break the ends off of them, and yeah, just not have a very good time with it. So what I like to do on this type of setup, I'll come in here and get my spring compressor. And if you don't have one of those spring compressors and you're doing this kind of work, I would highly recommend you get one. This one here, you can't, yeah, you can kind of see it. It's a Schwaben compressor, and these things are nice. And if you're going to be doing work like this on basically any Mercedes of this vintage, that is one tool that will come in handy. But I'll take a little bit of pressure off of that spring, and then you can actually come in here with, I like to use, this is a tie rod end pickle fork, and you can get in there and basically I'll take and get in there and I will use just a little propane torch to kind of heat up that area just right around the ball joint stud basically, and I'll heat it up there for a little while, and then take this pickle fork and get this steering knuckle turned about where it is right here, and then put your pickle fork in and then just start pounding on it, and eventually you can kind of see right there that that thing is loosened up and it's ready to come apart. But that's just kind of a little tip I thought I'd toss in there about trying to get those bottom ball joints out. Some people think they're really hard to do, but from my experience, I've never really had that much of an issue trying to get them done. So there's that. And I'll just basically continue on getting that spring out and the shock, and get that steering knuckle pulled out of there, and well, then it'll be time to send these control arms off to get the bearings uh, put in the bottom down there. So yeah. All right, now that I got the spindle taken out of there, I'll basically start getting to work on getting that shock out, which ain't nothing too bad. Just a couple of little bolts down here and one at the top, and then I'll take the end of this track rod out and start getting that bearing support, whatever you want to call it, taken off of there, and we'll see about getting that bearing taken out. All right, as you see here, um, this right here is what your track rod comes into from your lower suspension control arm. And this thing here, at first look, you would think that you'd be able to take these bolts here out and just slide that ball joint out, but that's not exactly how it works. This cover here basically has just a rubber isolator type of thing built in. Well, not really built in, but it's inside of this cover here, and this cover is what holds that up against the back of the ball joint. Well, to basically get this ball joint out, you got to take it in and get it pressed out and get the new one pressed in. Something that you might want to do whenever you're doing your lower ball joints is to take these in too and get those done at the same time. But basically, how you want to get this cover on after you've gotten all of that done is what I like to do. I'll take these longer bolts here, and I will take and kind of run them down in there to where there's just a little bit of a gap, and then I'll take and I'll run both of these two longer bolts here. You can see that they go clear through the housing. Well, I'll take and run those in there a little ways to where it kind of tightens up just a little bit to where you can get these shorter bolts in. And whenever I put these bolts in, I always use just a little bit of blue Loctite on them, and basically run those shorter bolts in, and then you can come back in here and tighten up these two longer bolts and put a little bit of Loctite on the end of those. But these are Linforder ball joints, and they come with basically all new hardware. This is the encapsulated nut that goes up into the body of the car, which is always handy because some of these will get rusted out and you'll have a heck of a time getting the bolts out. One thing it doesn't come with though is the bolts that come up through these mounts, which would have been nice, but the original bolts that I pulled out of the car are in pretty good shape. But like I say, it comes with basically everything that you need to get these, well, basically to bolt this whole assembly up. But yeah, I'll go ahead, and now that I've got those ball joints put in, these basically rubber bushings here, I've got new ones of those, but these basically just kind of press in and press out. You don't need to have like a hydraulic press to be able to get these out. You can just push them in and push them out with your hands. But yeah, that's pretty much it on how to get that ball joint put in, and I'll get started on basically getting everything put back together now. Okay, now that I've got all of the ball joints and everything else like that put in, I can start reassembling everything. One thing that you want to do before you start reassembling, if you've ordered the kits that I have, whenever it comes with those ball joints and all of that, you want to get your new encapsulated nuts put in. And now this one back here, it just slides into place, but this one right here, that one there will actually push in from the back side. So that's pretty much it whenever it comes to that. But basically how I'm going to go about reassembling everything is I'm going to get that lower track rod and ball joint put in, and then I'll start getting this other mount that goes into the control arm that basically attaches that track rod in here, and I'll get that bolted up, and then I'll want to move in here and start getting my shock rebolted up onto here, and then I could put the spring mount on. And basically the reason why I'm going to do that is because it's a lot easier to get to these two bolts here for the shock if you don't have that spring mount put on there. So, but yeah, I'll go ahead and get started on that, and I'll see you guys here in a minute. Okay, I've got the rear track arm uh, basically assembly put up in there, and bolted up the new shock, that new whatever you call it, mount there for the track rod, and the spring cup down here. And also I've got the spindle on there, but I haven't gotten it tightened up yet. But there's one thing that I want to talk about. You can see up here the upper control arm. I've got it put into place, and it's fairly easy to get it out right now. But one thing, whenever I replaced this upper control arm just by itself, I had a pretty hard time of actually getting the spindle to go up in there. And the reason why that is, I'm pretty sure the reason why is because the other side of the car had the spring in the side of it, and it was probably torquing down on this sway bar here, which forced that control arm to come down. So if you just have to get in here and replace one of these control arms like that, because you've got a bad ball joint or something like that, it's a lot easier to do it if you take out both of your front springs. And it's a lot easier to take out springs if you've got that tool. I'm here to tell you that thing makes taking springs out so much easier. But yeah, I'll go ahead, and I'm basically, the last thing that's going to go in here is the springs. I'm just going to go ahead and get everything else bolted up, get the wheel bearings repacked, and with some new grease and all of that, and just basically start getting everything bolted back up into place, and yeah, then I'll pretty well be done with it. Here's a little bit of a quick tip for you. If you're trying to get this nut put on down here on the bottom, and it's just wanting to spin, going up into the ball joint, what's happening is this little nylon locking piece here in the end of the nut is basically getting up on that bolt, and it's wanting to spin the whole thing. So what you can do is take like some washers, like what I got right here, and put it up on the bolt coming out of the ball joint there, and just kind of run that down until that bolt seats into the knuckle basically. And that will, once you get it seated down in there, that'll basically help it not to spin anymore. So yeah, there you go. All right, well, there it is, back down on the ground. I've got all of the suspension put on it. Everything's dialed in, and it's ready to go off to its new owner. I'll be kind of sad to see it go. It's a pretty cool car. I really like these W126s. I just think they're a very well built car. But hopefully, sometime soon, I can get started on that wagon or possibly my Saab. But I do possibly have something else coming here pretty soon that quite a few of you guys might like, and really kind of until then, this will probably be the last video I do with this car, and yeah. But I hope you guys have liked the videos I've put out on it, and if you like this video, give it a like, and please consider subscribing to my channel. I've started getting a few more subscribers, which is always kind of nice. But yeah, I'll end it off there, and we'll see the old 300 SD possibly at another time. Thanks for watching.